Just for the benefit of our viewers, what you are seeing is fairly historic footage. I'm as amazed at the footage and the quality of that feed as anything else. And that's the Dragon capsule, which is now engaged its hooks and is in position with the International Space Station.
If you are just joining us, this is Mission Control at Houston, where Axiom Mission 4 aboard the Dragon Grace spacecraft have connected to the International Space Station at 5:31 a.m. Central Time, currently in the process from soft capture to the hard mate to the orbiting laboratory. First set of 6 hooks have closed, and now monitoring that second set of 6, 12 in total, to form that hard mate.
That hard mate forming is going to take a little bit of time, and it's only once that is done and the pressure is equalized between the Crew Dragon, the vestibule, which is a small area between the Crew Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station. Once that is equalized with air pressure between Dragon and the International Space Station, and the hard lock is confirmed, that we can start talking about a transfer of the astronauts, including Shubhanshu Shukla, onto the International Space Station, where they'll be welcomed. Pallav, what happens from here onwards?
Well, what we see is the incredible view of Captain Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla.
Yeah, we just heard confirmation there. All 12 hooks have closed, and that is a hard mate to the Dragon Grace spacecraft and the International Space Station, completing from soft capture to that hard mate.
They are at the International Space Station, awaiting the opening of the hatch, and that is going to take a couple of hours, and then we will see the crew of 4 going into the International Space Station. Docking is a very complex process. It started almost 2 hours ago, and will go on for another 2 hours, and then we will see the astronauts going inside. This is the first time an Indian astronaut has reached the International Space Station. Even though the International Space Station is really at the fag end of its life, but an Indian astronaut reaching the International Space Station is a historic moment for India. The Axiom-4 mission, which I sometimes call the mission Akash Ganga, has created history for India and the world, because there is an American, a Hungarian, and a Polish astronaut. Astronaut Peggy Whitson is the commander, and there are 3, as she herself says, rookie astronauts who have never flown into space. Now, all 3 have been in space for 28 hours, so we don't think we should call them rookie anymore. They are there at the International Space Station. I'm sure their hearts are beating fast. They are in their space suits now, because this is an active phase. It's in the passive phase when they go into their comfortable clothes, because when we saw them in the afternoon speaking to the world from space, they were in their more comfortable clothes. So they are in their space suits. So they will change back into more comfortable clothes and then enter into the International Space Station. All of the International Space Station really works at what is called the Greenwich Mean Time or the London time. So beyond this, when they enter the International Space Station, they will be greeted by the commander of the International Space Station, who is currently the Japanese astronaut on board, and then they would be shown around for safety, and then there would be time for probably for the end of the day for today. And tomorrow would be a new day for Group Captain Shukla, second day in space, and work will begin.
So Pallav, in terms of the process from the soft capture, which is where we are essentially, to that hard mate that they're referring to, what exactly are they talking about?
Oh, the International Docking Port is a very complex mechanism which has been developed between Russia and America, and the whole process has been made so that the seals are literally airtight.
Right.
And all of this starts with what they call a soft capture, and then slowly the retraction happens, and the Crew Dragon is slowly brought closer to the International Space Station, and then the hard capture happens, after which it's the seals, they become hermetically sealed, meaning there is no air gap or air leakage, and then the all the tests begin.
And that's called the hard mate.
The final thing is the hard capture. And then the seal tests, whether the seal is airtight or not, will begin. I'm told by different astronauts that once the hard capture happens, it's only a small hatch which is there between the crew module and the spacecraft, and both start literally hammering on each end of the door of the hatch, and there are two of them because on each side, because they are very anxiously waiting to meet each other. There are 7 crew on board the International Space Station, and 4 more are going to join them. So we will have for India, if we call them, that will be a Space 11 for India at the International Space Station. And who knows, India has a way, they could always do something when there are 11 people.
Right. Well, joining us also Dr. Krisvin Karthik. He's a scientist at the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru. Manish Purohit is a former scientist at ISRO. Dr. Ajay Lele with us as well. Air Vice Marshal Deepak Gaur. So we've got a lot of excellent voices on this program, all watching on with fair amazement at what's taking place. Dr. Karthik, what does this moment mean for you, and as somebody who's been watching, the evolution of Indian science?
Yeah, thank you for calling. Yeah, it is incredible and a great for the young generation also to ignite them for
as Axiom mission
getting inspiration for the
Peggy Whitson, who uses
space
talking on the
related
communications between all
the events. Generally, what happens, it is like one generation watching is very difficult. For example, that moon exploration, it happened on long before, and after that there was nothing. And our Rakesh Sharma 84, it happened, and after 41 years. So for the current generation, it will be upcoming era. It will be a continuous space exploration. They are gifted, and all these activities are really good for inspiration for them to get into excited about the science activities and seeing the world out of the earth. Other than the regular entertainment, etc., media and the cricket and the media, the movie release and etc.
Right. Well, give me a second. Let me go across to Ajay Lele.
So many people.
Dr. Lele, I think what strikes me most is we've been watching space now for so many decades, but it's the quality of this imagery, a live feed of 2 spacecraft traveling at 27,000 kilometers per hour at approximately 428 kilometers away from the Earth. And, the fact that we could see it as brilliantly as we did, it just makes space so much more real for us. I think that's my immediate thought. How about yours?
Pressurizing the vestibule, which is that small space between the hatches on Dragon and the space station.
Ajay, are you there?
Talked about this has been exposed to vacuum prior to docking, and we'll need to.
All right, let me put that across to Air Marshal Gaur. Air Marshal Gaur, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Atmospheric pressure.
Your thoughts on just this incredible footage that we are seeing. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, Vishnu, for me, the more fascinating part as I was watching the soft and hard docking take place was the immenseness of the black space behind and the majesty of our blue planet as it was, swirling, relatively speaking, behind the docking procedure. To me, that was the most fascinating part of the whole picture.
From that capture moment.
Dr. Deepak Gaur, I'm sure you must have followed what Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla said earlier in the day. He said he was a little unwell, and also he was sleeping a lot. You were part of the mission which selected astronaut Shukla. As a doctor, what is your feeling of what is the health of Group Captain Shukla now?
I'm sure he is going to be fine very soon, Pallav. Because once you're actually exposed to zero gravity, things which are never really simulated obviously happen to you. And space motion sickness is a reality which most astronauts have to live with. The first 24 hours can be the most troublesome. I think those are already over, and I'm sure that Shubhanshu is going to get better and better.
Dr. Hemant Jahangir, a space traveler himself and physician scientist with us. Dr. Jahangir, what is space sickness? How long does it last? Dr. Jahangir, can you hear me? All right, apologies, we don't have him. I'm just going to go through our panelists. They've all joined, but I'm not sure why they're speaking. I think they're all pretty taken in by the moment. Manish Purohit, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Give us, your thoughts on this huge moment. We are deeply aspirational in terms of what we want to achieve in space. Now, this is a small step towards our larger objectives, but this is obviously an emotional moment for so many interested in science and space.
Yeah, this particular thing will motivate a whole lot of a big generation towards the endeavors in space, and they will start dreaming big about the space and taking up career in space. And there will be so many queries from the youngsters that how can they be in a place where right now Shubhanshu Shukla is. But the bigger thing is, this particular moment is coming when India is already having its own plans of human space flight. And as very clearly mentioned by Shubhanshu Shukla itself, that this is the beginning of human space program. We have our G1 flight plan, maybe somewhere down the line in November and December in this year. And then 2027, we have our own plans of our own Gaganyaan module flying into the space with our Gaganyaan 3s. 2028, we need our Bharatiya Antariksh Station first module in the space, then our crew module docking to it. So big things are planned for India. And then docking, the parts we talk about. So right now, the visuals that we are getting, I want to explain a bit about this. What's happening right now? Right now, the umbilicals of Dragon will connect with the International Space Station, and then the International Space Station will take over the control. The power will be supplied from the International Space Station to the Dragon. The data from the Dragon can be read by the International Space Station, and it will become a part of it. Then pressurization will start. Once it's checked that there are no leaks, everything is perfectly in place, then they will start pressurizing this vestibule. Once that is done, then again there will be few checks. The checks will be for some, debris thing. If it is lying here and there somewhere, that will be checked. Air circulation will be checked. The air circulating tracks are there. That will be checked that they should be working perfectly fine. Why? Because in microgravity, there is an issue of CO2 pocket. That shouldn't be there. Once all these checks are done, and when they give a go for opening of hatches, hatch will open first from ISS side, then the hatch will open from Dragon side, and then they will move in, and then we'll see the meet and greet ceremony.
Right now what we can tell you is that the power and communication is now connected between the Crew Dragon and the International Space Station, and the power to the Crew Dragon is now coming from the International Space Station. This is a very important part of the docking procedure, because here onwards the power is coming from the International Space Station, and the communication is also going to be happening through the International Space Station. So important milestone over. And
we are troubleshooting the big loop audio comm issues from earlier, and the action we're about to take will take down big loop comm between ISS and the Axiom crew for about 5 minutes. We may require additional comm checks after.
What I'm hearing from the teams between SpaceX and Axiom is that they are doing some communication checks between the Crew Dragon, SpaceX, International Space Station, and there would be a 5-minute gap between the communication. But at the same time, right now they're continuing with the docking process.
And the big loop that you have been hearing that have connected everyone here inside of Mission Control Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room, those aboard the space station, and inside the SpaceX Dragon Grace spacecraft, and the teams in Hawthorne, California, those 4 parties, that's the big loop. They will troubleshoot those communications for about 5 minutes and then recheck But you heard just prior to that NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers have begun the hatch opening procedures, in which the large hatch at the Node 2 zenith, that's the space-facing side of the Harmony module, has been opened, and that will allow for them to begin the hatch opening procedures and pressurize the vestibule, which is what, in addition to the comms checks, we will monitor, as Ayers will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the vestibule. That's the gap between the Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station that has been exposed to vacuum. And from there, they will match the pressure, the atmosphere inside both station and Dragon.
All right, I'm joined now by Dr. Ayman Jahangir. Dr. Jahangir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on the program. Shubhanshu Shukla was perhaps a little space sick, seems to be getting better now. What exactly is space sickness?
Yeah, so this is actually quite common amongst many people who go to space. Something like 2/3 to 3/4 of the people who go up there get sick. And it's because what your eyes are seeing doesn't correlate with what your inner ear is telling you. You know, on Earth, we're grounded by gravity. So we were designed for this, or we were built here, however you want to say it. And so when our body goes into space, what our inner ear is telling our brain is different than when our eyes are telling our brain. So it's very, very common for people to get sick in space for the first few days until their body gets used to it. But really, after about 2 days, people feel better. So this is not uncommon. And despite Captain Shukla's amazing career, it happens to fighter pilots, it happens to astronauts who've been training for 10 years, and there's no way to really predict it, but it's just part of the process.
Jahangir, could you give us a sense of what happens next once the hard seal is achieved and the vestibule is pressurized and there are no leaks? I think what our viewers right now are really trying to understand is, why is it taking so long? It's a simple question, but I think it deserves an answer.
Yeah, so you would think it's as simple as opening a door, right? You've brought the Dragon capsule to the space station, but really there's a lot of things that have to happen between you pretty much attach and open this capsule to the space station. You want to make sure that everything is perfect, which is what they're doing right now. They're making sure that the pressure on one side is not greater than the pressure on the other side, because if that's different, you can have a big problem when you open the doors and have a vacuum, for instance. Now, once they get the doors open, and all of these things take a long time, and it's because they just want to make sure that everything is going perfectly, as perfect as can be, because they are in space, right? They're their own source of protection, of care right now. It's not like if there's a problem, they can just come back to Earth in the next 30 minutes. So this is a very important part of it. This is probably the most important part of the process after the launch, is making sure that these two are docked, which they've done successfully, and then making sure everything is correct. Now, once the door is open, I mean, it's going to be pure excitement, and you will see it, right? It's always the most exciting part of when a new capsule comes to the space station, is when the crews meet, and really you can just feel the enthusiasm in the video. So I'm very excited to see when Captain Shukla meets the crew of the ISS here, hopefully shortly.
Pallav, go ahead.
Well, the different procedures for the docking and the crew pressurization of the vestibule are going on. Right now, what I've been told is that at 7:05 p.m. India time, the welcome remarks will happen. This is now then communication between the crew members who are already there at the space station, the 4 who will join them, and the Johnson Space Center. They will have welcome remarks. So that would be a very lovely point, and they haven't specified how much before that will the crew enter the International Space Station. I presume it will be a few minutes before that. And usually when there is
on the big loop.
Usually when
Go ahead, Pallav, keep speaking. Yeah.
Usually when there is a person from Navy, there is a bell which is rung. I don't think there is any person who is there from the Navy on this Axiom-4 mission, because 3 are scientists and 1 is an Indian Air Force person. So if the bell doesn't ring, don't get anxious. They would have still have entered because the bell rings only when there is a Navy person. Remember, the bell, when astronaut Sunita Williams entered the space station, they rang a bell. She is from the American Navy. So we expect at 7:05 the astronauts coming in a little earlier and the welcome remarks from the International Space Station. But right now we can say Group Captain astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla has created history, and he is already there at the International Space Station.
The first Indian to be in an International Space Station since Rakesh Sharma was on Mir, the Russian space station, 41 years ago. But just think about it, Mir, 41 years ago, what a remarkable piece of engineering that was. And one of the capsules, or rather modules, in the International Space Station is also Russian. The Chinese, of course, have Shenzhen, which is their space station as well.
And we will have our own space station soon, Vishnu, which will be the Bharatiya Antariksh Station. 2035, we'll have a full-fledged station. And by 2028, we have to have the first module up in space. So we are very close to having a third space station. Before that, there could be private and commercial space stations coming up, both from Axiom and Vast Space. Two companies who are competing with each other to make private commercial space stations.
All right. Let's just listen into some of the audio from...
on Dragon to ground. We are about to enter a LOS period for about 4 minutes, so we'll need to stand by.